As someone who can acknowledge my addictions, the reality of what I'm learning about consciousness and life and thought and God and universe and spirit is that we're all addicted. You today, we today, us today, and how we live are addicted to our current lifestyles. However, your lifestyle is, whether you're a drug addict or a work addict or somewhere in between. At some juncture, you pursued until you got something that you wanted. And like any dope fiend or workaholic, you'll never receive that high again. But you keep going back and you keep going back and you keep going back. Why? Because the movement in that direction that you chased that gave you that is all of a sudden all you can do to keep that. That is the reality we come to with the addiction of our lives. I would take caution with what you drive your addiction towards in any space or capacity. Life, the intentionality I'm learning, I believe, that I'm becoming witness to, is don't at all dismiss or believe that I think in some way we should work less. In fact, I believe deeply we should find out how to work as much as we possibly can. The way that I tell you, if you build rhythms and patterns and habits and routines towards a passion, if you can become addicted to something that rises your soul and makes you feel like you are valuable, fulfilled, and actualized, then you never stop working because the mind is constantly moving in the direction that you tell it to, even when it rests. But in that way, you need to rest. In that way, you need balance. In that way, you have to certainly find rhythms and patterns and habits that keep you stable to allow you to push really hard when you got to push really hard and to pull back when you need to pull back. You also have to be addicted enough to understand, I know when I need to have some patience. I know when I need to force because I have the energy in all levels. That energy is available to me. Emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, physically. I certainly encourage you to push the boundaries. I also believe that when you extend the boundaries, just like the cup, when you build a bigger cup, you could absorb more wisdom and knowledge and information, and you don't become ignorant and naive. You don't ignore what else is around you. In the same way, when you push and push and push and push, the limits to which you can absorb and absorb and absorb, extend. You can extend your limit physically. The way you lift and you lift and you lift, you get a little bit stronger and stronger and stronger. Is the more you think and think and think, you think till it hurts. And then as you get there, you pause, you give yourself a rest. And the next time you think and think and think, you can think a little bit deeper. You look, you look, you look. You write, you write, you write, you persist, persist, persist. And as you do that in every facet, you pray and pray and pray and pray and pray and pray and pray. Ooh! And you pray until the conversations with God, your maker, your creator, become deeper and broader and more expansive. And when you reach a limit where it gets overwhelming and exhausting, and you're becoming a little too self-centered, when you're becoming a little too blind, you pause, you stop, you reflect, you give time, you begin to exude patience. The more you stretch and stretch and stretch, the more you enhance your stamina for life. The more you build upon your addiction in one direction, you have to seek the balance that allows you to continue to stretch. The point that I'm trying to drive is that what I've learned about my addictive ways, is it can lead you to become this incessant, overbearing, overdriven, almost psychotic person in the direction of something that is intended to be beneficial, I believe when we see it, we know it benefits us. And why not be benefited? I'm not going to judge you on what you choose to make benefit you. I'm just going to say at some point you got to be conscious of your choices. But as you're on that psychotic chase, you have to be able to find the balance to say, it's not going to come to me as fast as I want it to come. It's likely not going to happen in a way that you expect it. You can't put your finger on it. You won't even know when you got there. So because all that is true, I'm not telling you per se to temper your drive or your expectations or to weaken yourself in that way. No, keep broadening. But know that as you become addictive in one way, you got to be able to see what is occurring outside of you. You can't go so deep inside that you forget what's outside. You can't go so deep outside that you forget what's inside. What I'm suggesting also is we're addicted to our lives, whether you accept it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not, whether you're aware of it or not. And look, if you are where you are, and it's clearly where you want to be, nothing else needs to be done. I'm not suggesting a lot of your day 35 in. Sometimes the improvement process and the drive towards realization, actualization, and fulfillment, the definition of success that you see, is the repeat process of continuing to be you once you've attained. Not everyone wants to keep stretching. I briefly touched on this yesterday. There is and there should be an enough button. When you have enough, it's not that you go into you just kind of flatline and skate. No, there's a maintenance, yes, in the language of maintenance. But the reality to anyone who attains what they want to attain, where they want to attain it to, the maintenance of that is intense. It is. Because at minimum, you can never fall off. And knowing I can never revert back to what I used to be is enough incentive to keep going where you need to go. So if you're not where you want to be, there is still work to do. If you're not where you want to be, if you're looking at me and I'm looking at you and you're looking at you and we're looking at ourselves, if you're not where you want to be, there is still work to do. This is not a cliche motivational theme or message. This is a reality. You must come to acceptance. You must say it to yourself. You have to believe that yourself. You have to first know, self, I am not where I want to be. So the only logic that comes with I'm not where I want to be is this. I have work to do. We have work to do. Let's go do it. And in that way, when there's work to do, it's not a question of what time is it, what day is it, what week is it, what month of it is it, what year is it. It's just a question of what is the work that needs to get done. So if there's work to do, what is the work that needs to get done? And it needs to get done now. There's always work to do. And when you realize that part of the work is to relax, recover, and rest, then you can really begin to understand how to drive towards the work that needs to get done all the time. I can't reinforce this enough. From anything I've learned, who am I? I'm a big nobody. Cool. There's always work to do. It needs to get done now. I touched on this briefly yesterday. The difficulty we experience with success, when we drive towards new success, when we break old addictions, the old addiction of us for a new potential addiction of us. When we say, no more, no mas, we're moving in a different direction. Success doesn't look like us because we've been so unsuccessfully successful. Think about what that means. That the minute you make this change, whatever change, however many days in, seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, however many times you've made this promise to yourself, you revert back into your old addictions. Even if those old addictions have made you what you would perceive as unsuccessful, you have become successfully unsuccessful in that even though I may not like where I'm at, I still get through. I still get by. I still maintain. It's back to that maintenance. And in the same way, an addict can keep going back for that same fix that they know is going to do nothing, but continue to cause conflict in their lives. You can go back for that same fix that puts you in that same trap that you keep complaining about all the time. Imagine that. That you know you can look in the mirror and know there's work to do because I need to get somewhere else. Yet, continue to do everything that has gotten you to exactly where you are. Is that not madness? Is that not literal madness? Can we not agree that repeating what you are doing in order to get to the same place, and the same place you are getting to is not somewhere you want to be, and you're going to complain about it come 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, come Saturday, or drink yourself into oblivion to try to forget it, to do it all over again? What are we doing? I'm just asking the question. I'm asking the question, at what point do you deem what you are doing unsuccessful and realize that you are successfully unsuccessful and stop it? There's work to do. There's work to do, and we don't have time. We need to do it every now we get. Now, or not. Success doesn't look like us because we've never really seen this us. We only know the other us. Imagine that. That you could be looking at a reflection in the mirror, and imagine that reflection wasn't reflecting to you what you're reflecting to it. Meaning, what if it talked back to you and you just listened? And the person you were listening to was the other you, the future you, the potentiality of all you could be. What would it tell you? Have you not heard this before? Have you not heard the voice in your head speak, scream, and pray for a little bit of a release? If you could look in the mirror at yourself and know that there's things to do, there's work to do, it got to be now, and you stopped speaking, you just looked at who was in the mirror, and you let that person speak back to you, what would that person say to you? And how crazy that we know what that person would say to us, and we look at that person, and we know we could be that person, but it doesn't look like us because we haven't been that person long enough. We can't continue to fight for that person long enough until we become addicted to the habit of being that other person. We go back into seeing and knowing who that other us is. We are addicted to being successfully unsuccessful. If, of course, presuming, of course, you believe there's something in the mirror telling you it's time to change. I'm throwing it out there. I'm asking a question. In the same way, it causes me to reflect. I ask this question. What is so easy about comfort? We talk about comfort. We know comfort. It's a cliche. It's something we don't want to necessarily be in. What is so easy about comfort, particularly when most of us are so uncomfortable in our comfort? Successfully unsuccessful, uncomfortably comfortable. Imagine that you could come to the realization that I'm uncomfortable with where I am in my life. I'm uncomfortable with this level of comfort. So why do you go back into that discomfort? Why do you fight the discomfort? Why do we fight the discomfort of growth when we know that it is uncomfortable being as comfortable as we are now? When we know that if we were giving ourselves advice and watching ourselves lounge and slouch and overeat and over destroy ourselves into oblivion, all the addictions you already have, the addiction to the life that is comfortably uncomfortable, comfortable, successfully unsuccessful. Why is it so easy to do that? Most of us want out. Most of us want out of this, but we stay here. Most of us want out of being uncomfortably comfortable and successfully unsuccessful. Most of us want out, but we stay there. Most of us see the reflection in the mirror screaming at us, urging us, encouraging us, trying everything it could to move us, and we stay there. However, and in the same way, we aren't trapped. There's nothing keeping you there. You have no restrictions, no chains, no cuffs. You're not tied down. Why? Why do we remain there? Why do we see the reflection? Why are we stuck in this discomfort and stay there? I don't know how to answer that. Outside of, as someone who is easily addicted, you haven't realized you're addicted to that. Here's what I wrote down too. This state of being, this existence, living like this, uncomfortably comfortable, unsuccessfully successful. It's like an unlocked prison where all the doors are closed, and yet we have the key to this unlocked prison. We know everybody in there. We know what happens. We know what to expect. Yet we stay there. Why are we walking around caged in, locked in, knowing what's going to happen and staying there? When we have the key, we know all the guards, we know all the escape routes, we know how to get out and never come back. And we stay there. And now imagine this. And once we're comfortable as the prisoner, we can't live without the box, the locks, or the guards that keep us caved in, that keep us locked up. And the truth is, none of it is real, including even if it's happened already. It's not real. The discomfort, the lack of success, the unease is only as real as we allow it to be. And we are addicted to repeating these behaviors. We are addicted to continuing this identity. We are addicted to giving the stimulant of every now and again the crack, cocaine, dopamine rush of staring in the mirror, to scream at ourselves, to give us this quick, invigorating rush of emotion, to pick up the phone and call somebody and tell them all the things we're going to do, to hang up and then not do it. We are the prisoner, the guard, and the institution. We are the lock and the key. If only we could change our mind, we could change our life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.